We want to help you. We want to know what your questions are. Some of them are theological, and that's not what this format is primarily for. We want to help hurting people. This is not a stage where we want you to argue with us. You may or may not agree with us. You may disagree. That's perfectly okay. But what we want to do is we want to help hurting people. So even though this question that I'm going to deal with today is theological in nature, there is a backdrop here of some real concern, because it's not the first time that I've received this very same question. I want to read what Jennifer says. As I'm catching up on the episodes, this seems like a perfect time to ask this question. I've been watching a sermon series by a local pastor. He said there's not one passage that Satan led a rebellion in heaven before the earth was created. There is no origin of Satan in the Bible. He references Revelation 12, 5 through 12. This sounds like the story I feel I grew up with a war in the heavens, Satan defeated and banished, etc. But he says Revelation is a story of the future. Verse 5 shows this occurred after Jesus came to earth, not before the creation of the earth. Now this is the reason I'm answering this question, this next part. This has upset me for days now. Is there an origin of Satan? How was he in the garden to first tempt Adam and Eve? Thank you for consideration of this topic. It concerns me that it bothers you, that what this pastor said seems to indicate that there's a possibility there might not even be a Satan. Well, one thing is very clear. When you read 66 chapters of this great book, the Bible, I call each book a chapter. From beginning to end, Satan is there. From beginning to end, there is a spiritual war going on between the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of hell. Satan is there to tempt Jesus. Satan is there to carry Jesus from place to place in order to tempt him. Satan is there at the crucifixion thinking that he won a victory. And 1 Peter 5:8 tells us that Satan is roaming the world. He's like a hungry, roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. One thing you can never say is that Satan does not exist. His origin has been in question among believers. Your pastor that you're listening to holds, I believe, what is called a dispensational view of Scripture. And he's going to preach that. So he sees Revelation as a futuristic book, which it is. But it's not only a futuristic book. I like to refer to Revelation as snapshot prophecy. The author of Revelation, John, takes these visions that he received of the end times and uses snapshots in time to give us an illustration of what is to come. In other words, it's a snapshot of the future, like the beast with 7 heads, like the description of Satan during the last days. These are all prophecies that have yet to be fulfilled, but they will be fulfilled in the future. He's taking a snapshot of that futuristic prophecy in time, and he's using it in language that the people of that day would have clearly understood. You know, Revelation may be confusing to most Christians because we're not in the culture where that language was used. Those symbols all need to be interpreted. but not during the 1st and 2nd century. They knew exactly what John was referring to. They knew who the harlot was. They knew who the Antichrist was. The Antichrist is Satan, who takes on many different forms. He is the great harlot. Babylon is the great harlot. These are all referring to Satan and satanic activity in that day during great persecution that takes a snapshot of what they were going through in the 1st and 2nd century and projects it down to the end times. That's what the book of Revelation needs to be. Actually, I did a whole sermon series on the book of Revelation, and I believe it's actually 7 books rolled up in scrolls, and the seals are broken. And as it gets more and more intense, as you open up the seals, we get closer and closer to the very last days when Christ will return. So your pastor's right in one regard. It is a futuristic book, but it's not only a futuristic book. It's a prophetic book that uses snapshots in time to project down the road. Did Satan fall from heaven? According to Revelation 12, he did. According to some of the Old Testament prophecies, he did. According to church tradition, he did. But there's a whole brand new theology out there that wants to minimize hell. It wants to minimize the existence of Satan. It wants to play down the role of evil. And we've got to fight that, friends. We've got to make sure as Christians we understand there is a real thing called evil in this world. But what concerns me the most is, why are you so upset about it? The same thing can be said about our belief in God. Where did God come from? Is there an answer to that question? The only answer that we've ever given is God always was, is, and ever will be. He has no beginning. He has no end. How's that possible? How can we possibly say something so illogical? That's where faith comes in. But to say or to imply that there is no Satan, that there is no real person called Satan, that he's not in a warfare with the Christ, is to misread the whole Bible. All the way back into the beginning, every chapter of every book of the Bible, there is a war going on. One author used to call it the invisible war. We know in the book of Job, which is the oldest book of the Bible, that Satan actually appears before God in heaven, that he has access to God back and forth. He's all the way back into the oldest book of the Bible. If he's there, and he's there at Revelation, in Revelation, the last of the books of the Bible, then he's certainly there all the way through all 66 of the books. So I wouldn't be troubled by what the pastor says here. He has a right to believe those things. It is a theology that is relatively new. It's not been preached and taught in church history, as far as I know, since before 1920. So it is relatively new. He is misreading, in my opinion, the book of Revelation for what it is. That's fine. Christians can disagree on that. But it should not trouble you. You need to worry more about the presence of Christ in your life than the presence of evil. Draw close to him. 1 Peter 5 says, draw nigh unto God. He will draw nigh unto you. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. How do you resist the devil? By drawing nigh unto God. Because Satan fundamentally is a bully. So let not your heart be troubled over this. Christ in you is greater than Satan is in the world. I hope this helps.
Hello, my name is Danielle Cantler, team member here at MARKINC Ministries. Thank you so much for your continued support of this video series. Ask Dr. Betters is not meant to be a substitute for professional counseling, but instead is designed to extract the biblical principles around the questions being asked. We encourage you to seek professional counseling if needed. Professional counselors are ready to assist you at Anchored Hope Biblical Counseling. See the links below for more information on Anchored Hope and all of the free resources we offer here at MARKINC Ministries. Thank you for watching and welcome to the MARKINC family.